Welcome back, everybody, to another Pay-Per-View-Point edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. We just got done talking about NXT TakeOver Chicago 2018, and we're going to continue the weekend's pay-per-view festivities with our predictions of Money in the Bank 2018. This is the main card, the main show, the main event, etc., etc. Lots of mains, Mania in the Bank, whatever you want to call it. We've got 10 matches here, and I'm just going to specify this ahead of time. I'm only excited for 3 of them. This card could be a lot better, and it isn't. And it's not as if, like, wow, you know, they would make the card so much better if the 4 missing championships were on there. Because the Leaders of the World versus B-Team, not worthy of a main event type of caliber. United States Championship isn't going anywhere. Universal title, all right, it's on Brock Lesnar. Of course, you can't expect it. And the Cruiserweight, we don't really have a number 1 contender yet. So that explains why those things are missing. But at least the Tag Team Championship on SmackDown gets a little bit of love. They were missing on the last event. They're going to be here technically, but it's going to be on the kickoff. They moved that yesterday to the kickoff. And it's going to be the Bludgeon Brothers defending the SmackDown Tag Team Championship against the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, a.k.a. the Bludgeon Brothers retaining the SmackDown Tag Team Championship in the pre-show. Right? There's not much of a chance that we're going to see a title change here. Do you guys agree? Oh, by the way, people I'm talking, I'm Tony Mango. Here's Robert D. Felice and Callum Wiggins. You know the score.
Yep. I would have to agree that the Bludgeon Brothers will be retaining. If they're going to have the club with AJ, can they just put them with AJ? The end.
Yeah, Bludgeon Brothers retain. I don't care about the SmackDown Tag Team Division. Nobody cares about the SmackDown Tag Team Division. Let's just move on.
Isn't that sad that that's the case? But it really is true. It's like, this sucks. And it's better than nothing. I will say that. If you want to get the optimistic point of view, it's good that they're actually doing something with the Bludgeon Brothers. It's good that they're actually doing something with the Good Brothers, but they technically aren't, because all they did was they had Anderson and Gallows beat the Usos, and then they've had, what, 1 backstage promo since then?
I think they had a match between Carl Anderson and Luke Harper, I think.
Oh, that's how forgettable it was.
And Anderson wins, and they're like, oh my god, miracles can happen!
Yeah, they treated them like they weren't tag team champions already.
Wait a minute, hold on. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are some pretty badass dudes. Well, you know, like, it's not their fault that you're not presenting them in that light.
They're former tag champs in WWE. So, hey, oh man, they won a match. Well, they are champions, so they should be able to win a match every once in a while. Maybe it wouldn't be as unbelievable if you would have booked them decently over the past couple of years, but hey, that's only perfectly logical and reasonable, right? Like,
Listen, I don't want to like just completely shit away the match, because the match itself could be pretty good. I don't think they're going to give them a lot of time anyway, because it's on the kickoff show. But it can still be okay. They're both decent teams. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off that. I like both teams. It's just I'm very defeated with the main roster as a whole, but specifically the SmackDown side of things. It's coming across like a weird time portal to 2010 when women didn't matter, tag teams didn't matter, nothing matters.
Mm-hmm. SmackDown's really been kind of blah. Like, Raw has been struggling for a while, but they don't put any fucking effort into SmackDown, it seems.
But at least SmackDown has, you know, actual stakes to their rivalries and, you know, a champion.
And it's 1 hour shorter.
Yes, that's a lot easier. It could be so much better. Well, we could go down that rabbit hole another time.
We will. We'll get to Roman in a minute.
But we have to, unfortunately, talk about another SmackDown match that I think is just dropping the ball, and that's Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass. I'm not as into this feud as I was really hoping to be, and for the record, I was excited for the idea that Big Cass could go over to SmackDown. Although as soon as they kept him a heel, I was like, it's going to be a mistake. And then they started putting him with Daniel Bryan, and I'm like, oh, all right, this isn't going to work out that well. And I just don't like this feud. I think that they told a decent enough story for the very first match, but then they've just coasted. Big Cass is doing nothing different. All he's doing is repeating the same thing. Daniel Bryan is short, and then Daniel Bryan goes, I will make you tap every single week. Why do I care? Daniel Bryan already made him tap out. If you wanted to keep this feud going, Cass should have won that first match, and Daniel Bryan should have been the underdog. Now Big Cass wins, and what's the point? Just to have him in a third match at Extreme Rules? I don't like when they book things based off of the idea of, we need to drag this out as long as we can. How can we do that? Because it's like, well, why do you need to drag it out? Well, because we don't want to do any more work than that. Well, that's lazy, you know? They said everything that they need to say in that first match. Daniel Bryan won, Big Cass lost, the end of it.
I think that they still want Cass to be a big deal. I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up getting a match with AJ, either at Extreme Rules or SummerSlam, even. I think that the reason we're having this match here is to get Cass a win, but it won't be clean because I think Sanity debuts on Daniel Bryan. I think referee gets knocked down, and out comes Sanity to take out Daniel Bryan.
I was not expecting that. What's your thought process with Sanity?
My thought process with Sanity being they're almost like a rehash of the Wyatts picking on Bryan when he was super hot back in 2013. They're a good faction that kind of plays on, chaos, and Daniel Bryan is the happy underdog, and also I think Bryan might be down for it because Bryan just wants to work with a variety of opponents, and in Sanity, in the three members, you have a variety of opponents, and if they bring Nikki Cross up with Sanity, I can totally see Daniel Bryan taking a crossbody or a Hurricanrana from Nikki Cross. I think it's all about keeping Bryan in intense feuds, but keeping Bryan ready to go. So in September or October, when they want to pull the trigger on Bryan being world champion, I think they can do it whenever they want. But I definitely think Sanity debuts here and costs Daniel Bryan the match with Big Cass.
Callum, what are you thinking here? I was not expecting the Sanity angle, so you got a weird kind of offshoot thing as well?
I mean, the Sanity thing did cross my mind, actually. Just
Really?
along the lines of, well, yeah, because the Bryan and Wyatt stuff, it's in his history of just taking on the weird, freaky guys, just being the underdog against them, and they'll try and turn him and convert him into a member of Sanity. But like, I can't really push myself to be so creative about this match or about the finish of this match because the level of creativity that's gone into the build of this match. I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but Big Cass is really tall.
He's 7 foot tall.
Yeah, I think he mentions that every now and again on SmackDown because that's literally the only thing, like you said, Tony, it's the only thing that's been building this match is Big Cass is really tall. Daniel Bryan's not that tall, so Big Cass is better than Daniel Bryan, even though we all know that's not the case. But for some reason, they've got a hard-on for Big Cass, and they want to give him every opportunity they possibly can. Mainly just probably... Maybe that's the reason why I don't like the story as much, is because I know it mirrors real life so much. Because Big Cass is super tall, they'll give him more opportunities than they would do other guys that are deserving. Like if a Shelton Benjamin could be in this role or something like that, because him and Daniel Bryan had a very good match on SmackDown. And Shelton Benjamin would probably be a more entertaining person in this feud overall. Or Almas or anybody. There's so many better options, which is the thing that disappoints me the most about it, is the fact that you saw the match at Backlash between Big Cass and Daniel Bryan, and you said, okay, we're going to do that again. Like, What the fuck? Like, you saw that match. You must have seen the same match I did. What did you see in that match about what a rematch would be like that I haven't seen? because all I saw in that match is Daniel Bryan's won it. Big Cass didn't look impressive at all. Let's move on. Big Cass drops down the card. Daniel Bryan moves on to the next big thing for him. No, because Big Cass has to get his win, and that's what's going to happen in this.
And then that becomes Daniel Bryan won the first one, Big Cass won the second one, and man, they're in such a bitter rivalry. They've been fighting for like 2 months, and it's like, they've only been fighting for 2 months because you keep dragging this shit out. So then they clearly need to have some kind of a settle the score rubber match. It's going to be a fucking no DQ extreme street fight match or whatever at Extreme Rules, and the two of them are going to fight and figure out who really is good once and for all. And it's like...
And they have this like weird handicap situation match where Daniel Bryan's not allowed to use submission moves because that's what he used to beat Big Cass. The Big Cass has to be on his knees the entire match.
I'd be more interested in it if that was the case. If he has to get billed as medium Cass instead of Big Cass, like that kind of a thing, like just turn into the fucking skid.
Wait a minute, if Cass is on his knees the entire time, can't Bryan just kick him?
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah.
Fuck it, why not?
But would it be any worse than any of the matches they've had so far?
Have a 6-minute segment. He just kicks him a bunch of times and pins him, and then that's the end of it. You know, like...
I was thinking of something extreme, like, you know, it's a stilts match. Daniel Bryan has to wrestle on stilts because he's not 7 feet tall, but he will be on stilts.
But you can't use the stilts because it's a foreign object. Yeah, this is just one of those things where it's like, look, obviously I like Daniel Bryan. I know that when he was first getting his major push in NXT and stuff, I was just kind of like, I don't see what's so great about him, but eventually he proved me wrong and he's fucking great. And I like Big Cass to a certain extent, but I don't like this feud. And I think that it's annoying that they set up something and then they go, well, we want 3 months out of this. And they do the end of the feud in the very first match. And then you just take a side detour and then go back to it. Because if they do this and it goes back to an Extreme Rules match, then you either get Big Cass wins the third match and the second match. And it's just like, all right, well, I guess we're going to give Big Cass a win because Daniel Bryan doesn't need to win these feuds. Or Daniel Bryan wins and it's like, oh, he overtook the Giant, which is like, he did that the very first time. So there's no point in having another match here. And I'll reiterate this opinion of that there's no point in multiple rematches when we get to the WWE Championship match, but that's not even the worst thing to talk about next, because we have two more. The next two things we're going to talk about.
Did everybody say who they think is winning?
I think we're all going Big Cass, right?
Yeah, Cass.
Yeah, Cass. Okay, yeah. Making sure.
These next two things are going to be shat upon. And I know that, like I said in the takeover thing, not in the best mood today, burned out with wrestling, not interested in these cards as much as I should be and stuff. I promise you there is going to be some optimism in this. Like, there is going to be. We're going to talk about the Intercontinental title. We're going to talk about the ladder and the matches and stuff. But we have to talk about fucking Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley. This is one of the worst feuds that I have seen in a long time. And I like Sami Zayn a lot. I think that it's a travesty that he has not won a mid-card title yet. I don't think he's world title worthy, necessarily, but that dude should be fighting for the Intercontinental Championship right now. And he should be in a serious, like, legitimate feud that people can follow and be entertained by. Bobby Lashley, I've never been the biggest fan of, but he's got a good look to him. He looks like he could beat everybody up, and I'll buy into that a certain extent. But holy shit, has this feud been terrible. Every single segment these two have had has been atrocious. Are they purposely doing this, you think? Or, do you think anybody actually finds this entertaining and good backstage?
Someone clearly does. I don't want to say who, but it's probably the person that's pulling all of the strings at this point. Probably saw the 3 men coming out in drag as the Bobby sisters and thought, ha ha, God, look at those. They're men dressed as women. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, God damn it, it's funny. They're men, but they look like women.
It's just
The only way
so.
we can make this-
It's
only
so
way we can make this
fucking
funny is if
bad.
they cover them in shit as well.
Like, all right, if they would have done that, like, all right, fuck, I'm losing track of this too, because the very first thing that ruined this from the start was the Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman stuff. They bring Bobby Lashley in after WrestleMania, after the Braun Strowman tag team thing, and they tag him up with Braun Strowman a bunch of times, which is like, what fucking idiot didn't understand this? Okay, fine. You rather go with a 10-year-old kid than the Bobby Lashley thing. Sure, whatever. But then you go and you do this Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns, multiple tag things, Lashley and Strowman against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And you've had these two, Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley, fighting since Bobby Lashley has come back to WWE. So it's not like this is like, all right, we're going to change it up and we're going to go with a brand new feud here. We've already seen this multiple times. Then they decide they want to do a separate feud just between those two. And the very first thing they do to start this feud is have a stupid backstage interview with Bobby Lashley just going, oh man, I've got some sisters and one of them has like a fucking towel. And like, you know, and it's like, okay, this is your big like introduction of, if you don't know who Bobby Lashley is, let's show you this bullshit sob story, I'm a family man and I'm a babyface type of thing, as if anybody's going to care. And then to follow it up after receiving horrible reviews of, wow, that Lashley interview was really bad, you decide to book a whole feud based off of Sami Zayn does the whole transgender type of thing going on with that, which is, first off, gonna offend people, which I will maintain that people get too offended nowadays, but you know, it's a different argument for another day. But it's gonna offend people. It's not going to be entertaining. People are not going to buy into the feud more. It's just going to be another bad decision. You would think after that, you would go, wow, this really isn't working. Let's just maybe not do this feud. But instead they go, hey, how about you like devote 15 minutes every fucking week to this and you could just do multiple bad things. It has to be that Vince McMahon thinks annoying Sami Zayn is good. That has to be it, right? Because this is certainly not making Bobby Lashley look good.
What are you talking about, pal? He was in the army. He's an American hero, damn it. He's going to be the biggest thing since Lesnar.
Didn't you see him climb that fucking rope?
That was the one good thing I think about the entire feud was Lashley looks really good doing that obstacle course. It's the first time I've heard him get like legitimately cheered since his return. Like his return match, he gets obviously cheered because it's a big return, and then this time he actually, yay, people are actually getting behind Lashley because he looks so physically impressive. And then, but I just think this isn't doing any good to Lashley's character. Like, still don't really, even though we've had these interviews and stuff, still don't really know who Bobby Lashley is. Sami Zayn, I think he does all right with the annoying stuff, but it's going too far because the segments are just bad. And they're just like not interesting, and they're not talking about anything that people want to see. Because at the end of the day, I know certain people might disagree or whatever. This would be so much better if Lashley was heel bullying Sami Zayn.
Oh, yeah. Massively better. That changes the whole dynamic. It makes Bobby Lashley seem like he's doing something. Because right now, all he's doing is going, Sammy, come on, Sammy, 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 Sammy. And you're like, I get it. His name's Sammy. Shut up. What are you doing? Where are you going with this? What was the line that he kept saying the other fucking day? Was it where you going? Is that what it was?
I don't know. Every time they're on TV, I turn it off.
I can't fucking take it anymore. And that means that this feud has to end here. If they continue this shit, oh my god.
And that's real, by the way. The past 2 weeks, every time they go, coming up next, Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn, I go, oh, well, I guess it's time to turn off Raw. Because I cannot be bothered with this feud and chalk Bobby Lashley up to one of only like 2 or 3 things that TNA has ever just done leaps and bounds better than WWE. Bobby Lashley in TNA was presented like an athletic monster. He was kind of a prize fighter. He was collecting championships, not in like an, hey, Austin Aries just left WWE, let's give him every belt ever kind of thing, but like, Bobby Lashley's the most legit guy we have. Let's build the brand around him. And by the way, I don't know why they're doing this thing where they're not playing off of who Lashley was prior to leaving WWE. Like his past WWE career was fantastic. He was the last guy to get a legit feud with McMahon. I know they're trying to distance themselves from Trump, but he represented the fucking president of the United States in a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's I think that's the kind of reason that they decided to just try and reinvent him, is the fact that I know that if they don't want to be associated with Trump, and they know that gives them bad press to a certain proportion of their fan base.
Have they even said at any point that he's a former United States and ECW champion?
No.
I don't remember them ever bringing that up, and it's like, that's a very quick aside that Michael Cole can just be like, Bobby Lashley, he's had a storied career here, former ECW champion, former United States champion. We know he can get it done in the ring.
11 years ago, when he fought Cena, that was built up as like one of the biggest matches of that era. And I don't understand why they're doing this thing like, who is Bobby Lashley? You had him before. He was one of your biggest stars before. Why is he not your biggest star right now? Or one of them, at least.
And you know what's weird about this, too, is I know that a lot of people like the armchair book, and I'm certainly not immune to that. But if you look on the internet, almost everybody seems to have the same opinion about Bobby Lashley. Why didn't he come in and just be this brute dude kicking ass? You would think that if so many people have that same idea, that WWE wouldn't go the complete opposite and go, no, we need to try to make sure that he shows personality, even though he clearly doesn't have it. I will fully admit, Bobby Lashley, if you just show me a picture of him and you say, this guy's a professional wrestler, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd buy him as champion. He's muscular as hell. He looks like he can beat up damn near any person on the roster. Do you need anything else? If you've had multiple years of seeing that Bobby Lashley can't really cut a promo, you know by now that you can't build feuds around him like that. Don't go with this whole idea of Sami Zayn being annoying and Bobby Lashley not having any kind of response to it, really.
All right, so I know what I would have done is just, he wins the Greatest Royal Rumble because he's a genetic freak, and you put him up against Lesnar at some point where they have somewhat of, it can be like a legit shoot in some aspects because they're both amazing wrestlers and can do it. And Lashley beats Lesnar, and that's all you need to do with him. I don't know why they're doing this. It's annoying. It makes me turn off Raw. Judging by the rumored matches for Extreme Rules, this isn't ending anytime soon, so that's depressing. Moving on, Lashley wins.
I still maintain, if you don't want to put the title on Lashley and you want to put the title on Roman Reigns should have just won at WrestleMania, and then you can move on. Or at the very least, he should have just won at the Greatest Royal Rumble and you can move on. And then
we're not at Roman yet.
Are
we going to Roman next?
Yeah, it'll be the transition. If you do with the Bobby Lashley thing and you want to have that fight with Brock Lesnar and you don't want the title to change and that kind of a thing, then you do the Brock Lesnar thing after that. You do Roman Reigns either wins at WrestleMania or the Greatest Royal Rumble, and then at SummerSlam, you've got Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. Bobby Lashley wins. Brock Lesnar goes and fucks off, does whatever he wants to do, and Bobby Lashley becomes the person that takes that, like, rather kind of Brock Lesnar spot. And then you could do Brock Lesnar versus somebody down the line if he comes back, and you can do Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns at, like, I don't know, Hell in a Cell or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, that, it seems so simple and easy. And it doesn't depend on promos.
Drag.
Yeah, it doesn't depend on men in drag. It doesn't depend on getting to know Bobby Lashley's family as if I or anybody else gives a shit. It's just Bobby Lashley comes in, beats a bunch of people, beats Brock Lesnar. Isn't this dude a tough guy? Let's put him against Roman Reigns. And whichever one of them could be a heel. Doesn't matter. You know? Hell, you can make the Brock Lesnar thing about Bobby Lashley turning heel. Like, he can come in as a babyface and then fight Lesnar and then be all like, I beat fucking Brock Lesnar. I'm the shit. And now I'm a heel. If you want to make him that. Like, that's just so dumb. Bobby Lashley wins, right? Everybody's going with this. It needs to just end.
Yeah. I hope it ends.
I'm honestly surprised we've been talking about it this long.
Me too. But...
I needed to vent because I had 3 article potential ideas of shitting on the Bobby Lashley feud, and every time I started to write them up, I realized I was writing like 2,000 words of just like, oh fuck this, you know, whatever. So I was like, I'm storing this up for the podcast. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, Lashley win.
And then we got to move on to another fucking thing here because we're talking Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal, because why?
All right,
because this will be the one they'll finally get him beat.
God damn, like
against...
Well, I think that's exactly what it is, though, Callum. I think it's, well, fuck it. It worked with Sheamus. Let's get him cheered by putting him against Mahal, because people really don't want to fucking see Mahal near the title.
And Mahal's getting cheered.
I don't think Mahal's getting cheered. I honestly think nobody cares. Like, no one can honestly sit there and tell me that they care about seeing Jinder Mahal versus Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank. And I like Roman Reigns. This isn't a fuck Roman Reigns thing. We say it every time we talk about him. I think Roman Reigns should be the guy. Roman Reigns has headlined 4 straight Manias in a row. The only other person who's ever done that is Hulk Hogan. And when Hulk Hogan did it, he was legitimately the guy. Roman Reigns seems like a guy who, even though he headlines every WrestleMania, he spends the bulk of the year trying to find his place on the card, which is so stupid because he should just be the main event guy. And I'll say it again, like I said with Lashley and Zayn, the fact that Raw has no stakes, the fact that Raw has no main championship hurts the brand. It's 3 hours of nothing. I don't know. I don't care about this match. Roman Reigns wins. I really want Brock Lesnar on the next Raw, and whoever wins that briefcase to just fucking take it off of Lesnar. Like, just get it over with.
Well, trying to understand their point of view. This is where I get... I wish that, and I know that a lot of people say this kind of thing, I wish that I was on the writing team to be able to argue points and just go, what do you want to accomplish? Let's try to figure it out. Obviously, the goal is they don't want Roman Reigns to lose the Money in the Bank ladder match, but they don't want to give him the briefcase. Yet, they still want him to be the guy. And the fans aren't cheering Roman Reigns. Now, they've spent multiple years trying to figure out a way to get that to happen, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. So, let's just ignore the fact that everything that they've tried with Roman Reigns hasn't worked. Somebody backstage must have said, well, maybe we can make him the American hero, and maybe Jinder Mahal is such a hated heel that people will be forced to cheer him over Mahal. It hasn't worked, because the very first time that they were having their encounter, Jinder Mahal did get cheered more than Roman Reigns to a certain extent. Now, you do hear cheers for Roman Reigns, but that's the same every single week. It's not like, it's 100% boos. Of course it's not. Since then, though, it's become more apathy than anything else. And you would think that the way that WWE works, they can do something one week and then they can change something the week afterward based off of the response. If they see that Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal is not getting a huge response, they can pivot and they can move something around. They could always fuck around and go, this Jinder Mahal Roman Reigns feud isn't working. Let's maybe insert them into the Money in the Bank ladder match and just say, fuck it. Kurt Angle, go out there and go, these two are fighting so much and whatever, and I think that they've proven that they are both worthy of a spot. Everybody will go, huh? And then the next week, they'll move on. Whatever. You got Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal. You're sticking to it. Why would you have the story be that Jinder Mahal screwed Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns is pissed? And then every segment that they've had afterward, I think it's every segment. If not, it's almost every. Roman Reigns beats the shit out of Jinder Mahal. Now I've already seen multiple times the entire purpose of what they should be fighting for. Roman Reigns is pissed and he wants to beat up Jinder Mahal. He's already done it a bunch of times. What is this match going to accomplish? Well, you get to see Roman Reigns get his vengeance on Jinder Mahal. He already fucking threw him backstage multiple times around like a rag doll. What more can he do? It's not a no DQ match. This is going to be the very first step of it. It should have been the two of them facing off on Monday Night Raw in a standard match, not the backstage brawl shit. There's a logical progression here, right? Like, am I crazy? Or does it seem like they're going the opposite direction?
Of course they're going the opposite direction. They have no interest in doing anything slightly logical. I've come to the conclusion that they are treating themselves as though they are Saturday Night Live, where, oh God, wasn't that sketch so funny? All right, everybody come out at the end of the show and hug and high five, and you guys all know it's a work. It's weird because they spent so much time back in the day trying to enforce kayfabe that now they're so into the idea that everybody knows everything that they don't even bother trying to make it an entertaining television show. It's just a nonsensical variety show that has some pretty decent wrestling matches on it by default because the roster's so good in the ring. But I've seen, and I'm going to go back to NJPW Dominion again, that even though, yes, everybody knows it's a work, when you put feeling and emotion into things, it's an amazing program, and you don't need to sit there and be like, well, I know this is the work. Well, shit. And WWE has no care at all about doing anything remotely entertaining and good programming. They're just like, hey, it's a great variety show, and we're family friendly, and this is the WWE universe, and blah, blah, blah. And Roman Reigns is unfortunately feeling the brunt of all that, and he's suffering because of it.
You know what this strikes me as? Roman Reigns is somebody who I equate every once in a while to Diesel. Not in a lot of regards. Not like, you know, they don't cut the same promos, they don't have the same characters, etc. But like, you got really big, long-haired guy at the top of the card, and really, for the most part, should be booked to be more dominant than almost everybody. And this strikes me as like, if back in the era when Diesel was champion, for instance, if you would have been like, all right, well, who do we put him up against to make sure that Diesel is cheered, even though Diesel was fucking cheered because people liked him? We could have him against Bret Hart, we could have him against The Undertaker, and somebody goes like, I don't know, like, what about like the Roadie? People seem to dislike the Roadie. And you're just kind of like, all right, huh?
Well, they
like,
essentially did that. They put him in there with fucking Mabel.
Well, Mabel at least even made more sense because he was big. Like, Jinder Mahal had a shit WWE championship reign that a lot of people didn't really like. And for the most part, he's taken a major step up in his career. Like, at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised if he won another mid-card title. I would be extremely surprised if he won another world title, but that's another story. but he's not the type of person that's like a threat to Roman Reigns, nor is he the type of person that is so militantly booed that like there's no way for this feud to end with anything other than Roman Reigns being a babyface again. It's just sort of there. And since they've already had their brawl, Roman Reigns has nothing else to accomplish. And if Jinder Mahal wins this match, then all they are doing is stalling and doing another match at Extreme Rules. And I fucking hate that so much. So I'm going with Roman Reigns winning here, just defeating the purpose, doing the same thing as like the Daniel Bryan big cast thing. All they're doing is stalling and wasting time and repeating the same thing that they've done before. But do you guys think that Jinder Mahal's got a chance?
No.
Yeah,
And Callum is again surprised that we spend so much fucking time on this match.
Well, it's just because like I don't know why you two are getting so worked up about this stuff. It's like
I think
I'm
Tony
now,
needs to vent.
Yeah,
and
I
I
understand
totally
that,
need
but,
to vent.
like, but it's getting to the point now where I'm at that stage. Like a few years ago, I was at the stage where I'll vent at everything because everything's going. Now I'm just past it because like it's not going to get any better. So what's the issue? It's two guys that aren't very over at the moment having a match on a card, which not really many people care about. It's just like
Look, I
Roman
still
Reigns
want
will win.
to. I still want
Won't
to
be
bitch about The
memorable.
Last Jedi. If something bugs me, I want to bitch about it.
Yeah. It's like Roman Reigns to win. No one will really pay much attention. It won't be the main event, which is at least one benefit to it. So
That's what you think, sir.
Do you guys think that
But-
there's a chance that they could do that?
no,
I don't. I really like. Fundamentally, I go, all right, they can't. They really can't. But then
The thing
part of
about
me goes, I don't know. They knowing
The thing about
WWE.
The thing about obviously WrestleMania, it was one of the World Championship matches, so it makes sense. It was main event. The match against Samoa Joe was one of the most built up matches to Backlash, so like there was always a chance it was going to be given the main event. But this one, it's just like it's just a throwaway mid card match. If they were to do that, then it's I don't know. It's obvious that they force feed Roman Reigns down our throats most of the time anyway. But it's more along the lines of if they did that, it would essentially be okay. We're not going to even try and be subtle about this anymore. We're literally just going to throw Roman Reigns through each of one of your television screens. And if you don't want him there, then you're just going to live in your house. You're just going to be in your house. He'll be, when you take a shit, he's going to be staring you right in the face. He's going to be in your bed. He's going to be sleeping with your wife, whatever, or something like that. It's just gonna, like everywhere you turn, like you sit at your desk at work, Roman Reigns is going to be right next to you, checking over your work and stuff like that. Just like everywhere you turn, it's just going to be Roman Reigns.
They like change your alarm clock, and when it wakes you up in the morning, it's just like Roman. Like,
Yeah. Instead of like you're a dog, you've now got the big dog in your like backyard instead. So it's like,
see, the reason I feel like venting about these kind of things is because I have to watch 3 hours of Raw, some kind of a special afterward, 2 hours of SmackDown, like 45 minutes or something like that of 205 Live. I tend to watch the Something Else to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard on Wednesdays, unless they don't fucking post it and wait until Friday. I don't watch Main Event because I just can't. I watch an hour of NXT, and I write up God knows how many articles and do so many things. So I'm living in the WWE bubble pretty much like 24/7. And when that's the case, and then I have to turn on an episode of Monday Night Raw and see 15 minutes of my life totally wasted for Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley, and then another 15 minutes towards Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal and stuff, I start realizing, like, if it was 1 week, it wouldn't bug me. But man, I don't want to watch this Roman Reigns Jinder Mahal feud for 7 weeks in a row. And a couple of other things that bug me. Because then you're like, how many hours have I wasted watching something that I don't find entertaining? And I know people go, well, then just shut it off. Well, this is my fucking job. So, like, I can't just go, like, all right, hop on Bleacher Report and be like, all right, well, my prediction for Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal is didn't watch, LOL. Then I lose my job. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, keep that in mind, everybody, the ones that are like that.
Yeah.
If I don't like a movie and, like, I have no interest in seeing, for instance, Hereditary. Now, my girlfriend loves horror movies. She is obsessed with them. It's her favorite genre. She thinks that looks amazing. I think the movie looks lame. And I'm not going to see it. And I don't have to because I'm not in that kind of a space where I can get paid to see movies and do the movie reviews and stuff like that. Now, if I was a movie critic, I would have to sit through all these movies. And I can understand why movie critics get to a point where they go like, oh, God, another fucking... If you don't like superhero movies, for instance, I love them, but some people hate them. If you don't like them and you're watching your 7th Marvel movie of the year and you're like, oh, another fucking superhero movie. Yeah, it's going to weigh on you after a while. And when I watch these feuds and I'm just like, oh, God, we're going to stick on this for another 7 months, like that kind of thing, it's just kind of like, ugh, bugs me. Hence the venting.
But chat me up, Tony. How do you feel about The Last Jedi?
You know,
that'd be quite funny if you had like just a Bleach Report thing. It says like, I suppose the Roman Reigns Jinder Mahal feud. Like, oh, I didn't watch that, but there's some things I want to go off my chest about The Last Jedi.
You know, I have a predictions thing coming up soon. That'd be great if I could just throw out there and be like, George Lucas said that the midichlorian story would have been his thing for episode 7, and that would have been fucking dumb. But at least The Last Jedi, you know, that ruins a lot of things. At least George Lucas would have, and then like people would have been like, what's this have to do with it? And then at the very end, it would have been like, Roman Reigns fucking wins. I don't know. Fuck off. Like, you know, that kind of thing. If they would be okay with it, I would do it. So you can see that kind of stuff on Smark Out Moment and Fanboys Anonymous, because I'm okay with me doing that. We're all going Roman Reigns here. We're all gonna not love this. The end.
I don't know if I'm gonna watch it.
To be perfectly honest,
right, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna spend the majority of that and the Lashley match typing out my review of other matches. So this better not be like one of the first 2 matches of the card where I have nothing to type. You know, I'm not gonna pay attention to it. And when we get to the review, the post show, it's gonna be like, well, this sucked. All right, move on. Let's talk about a fun thing though, because there's a lot of negativity. Thankfully, we've got Seth Rollins holding that Intercontinental Championship and kicking some serious ass, doing a great job. And we got him against Elias. Love Elias. One of my favorite acts on Monday Night Raw. Big fan of this match. I really like for the most part, the feud itself. I really like the two of them. Just thumbs up all around. Like, I think that it's pretty obvious, I think, to a certain extent, that Seth Rollins is going to retain, but I'm okay with that because he should. He's, you know, firing on all cylinders, and I just like it. Like, it's just breath of fresh air. You know what I mean?
It's a match we can. It's a match you can mainly look forward to, just due to the fact that Elias is a big deal at the moment, and he's deserving all the attention he gets. His segments are consistently entertaining. His matches so-so, but he's in the ring with the best guy, like on Raw at least, but maybe in WWE generally, in the ring at the moment. The guy that's on fire, the guy that should be holding a world championship has to deal with the Intercontinental title because the world championship isn't around. So Seth Rollins will carry Elias to the best match of his WWE career so far. They'll have a decent match, which on this sort of card could definitely steal the show, because there isn't a lot of other competition at the moment. But I'm thinking it's going to be a decent match. Seth Rollins retains, and I think this is one where I'm okay with the feud continuing. Pretty much.
Robert bouncing his microphone around.
Well, yeah, I'll also say that it's a match that I'm looking forward to. If Seth Rollins retains here, I see him dropping into Ambrose, but I'm going to go with Elias wins here, and hopefully Seth Rollins moves on to Brock Lesnar.
See, I know some people are thinking that. I think it's wishful thinking. I think that's kind of
thinking,
like...
But that's kind of all we got at the moment. So take that away from us as well.
I just, I don't have any faith that it's going to be anything other than the Roman Reigns thing. And
oh yeah, I'm 100% convinced of that, but
I'm not going to get any of my hopes up for anything different. Given the options, if you take the Intercontinental title off of Seth Rollins to put the Universal title on him, fully on board. Right? I would much rather see Seth Rollins hold that title right now than Roman Reigns. But I just don't think that that's the case. I think that they gave the Intercontinental title to Rollins specifically because they have no plans on putting that Universal title on him. At least now. Like, injuries could fuck things up and stuff. But so that's why I think that Elias kind of can't win. Which is like weird to say because you can continue this feud and have Elias win. And you could always like put the title back on Rollins or something like that. But I kind of think that if Elias wins, it deflates a lot of what has been building with Seth Rollins. Like, he can win the title back, but at the same time, he's not going to capture that magic again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. It's difficult to say at the moment, just because of how good he is at the moment. So I don't want to put it past him to do that, to do well if he was to give him the World Championship or anything along those lines. It's good. He's good in the position he is now, but I think that's mainly just due to the fact that there isn't a world champion, and Seth Rollins is kind of having to carry the entire brand on his back, and he's doing a good job of it. So why couldn't he do that with the World Championship or Universal Championship, as it's stupidly known as?
I do like the idea, though, that a heel Dean Ambrose could take the title off of him, and you know what? That can lead to a lot of some pretty interesting feuds for Dean Ambrose. Like, the Intercontinental Championship could be defended between Ambrose and Finn Balor, Ambrose and Strowman, Ambrose and Bobby Roode. We got some good pairings like that. So I like that quite a bit. Elias is great. I would be totally on board with him being Intercontinental Champion if he does win, but I'm still sticking with Rollins. And,
I think Elias wins, and I think if they don't do Rollins and Lesnar, they're mental. But they are mental, so,
Yeah, I was going to say, we talked all about the Bobby Lashley stuff. They clearly are. This should be one of the best matches of the night, though, I think. And I really hope that they put this in a spot where it happens after some of the annoying things. Like, if they do this, like, after Bobby Lashley or after Roman Reigns, it'll be much better, I think, on the card than to start with this or something like that and then go downhill. One of the worst decisions that they ever make on like booking the schedule for the cards and stuff is if they start really hot and then they go and have like 3 or 4 segments in a row that suck, because then you just kill the momentum. Don't start with the Intercontinental title. Start with like maybe the women's Money in the Bank ladder match and hop around a little bit and use the Intercontinental Championship, in my mind, use that as a way to pick the crowd back up. Because, man, the crowd has been so into Seth Rollins recently, and as soon as you play his music, they're going to at least wake up a little bit. And if you put that before a bunch of bad matches, whatever comes after those bad matches is going to be working uphill. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Just saying.
Totally.
And I will also put out there, I'm not too interested in this particular feud, and I think that this is one of the matches that could be a bad one. It could be good, it could be bad, I don't know. And if this is like, you do like the Lashley thing, and you go with the Roman Reigns thing, and then you go with this next match, I got a feeling it's going to be really in a bad spot, which is the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Carmella and Asuka. This is probably the hardest one for me to necessarily go with. I don't know. There's the 5 matches that we have left to talk about, including this one. I don't feel comfortable with a pick for any of them. However, this is really tough because Asuka lost her undefeated streak, and she's no longer untouchable. Part of me thinks she's not winning this title. Part of me thinks she has to. And it's just a battle of wills. Do they go with keeping her somebody who is like credible? Or does she lose and they illustrate to everybody that they no longer care? What are you guys thinking?
Well, I think that Asuka has to win here because unlike prior to her WrestleMania match, nobody cares about Asuka anymore.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, she's lost a lot of momentum since losing her undefeated streak, and they haven't done much with her since that point. I think Carmella's title reign has been a bust. I know some people will talk about, oh, she's such a great character and she's doing great heel work. No, she sucks. And she's saying it's not so much her. She has good delivery and she's obviously very confident. The material she's given is the same shit week in, week out. Mella is money, and Carmella beat Charlotte twice to keep hold of the title, whatever, and stuff like that. The same catchphrases over and over and over again. It's
discount Alexa Bliss.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's someone who's worse in the ring and has, like, frankly, no need to get any better because WWE obviously is really big on her in her current level of ability and how good she is just on the microphone. So why should she even bother getting any better in the ring? She doesn't need to.
The entire SmackDown women's division has taken a nosedive and somehow turned itself back into the butterfly belt days. I have seen dance-offs. I have seen meaningless mixed tags. I have seen bratty BFFs.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen model for a champion. There's just a lot wrong.
There's a lot of cattiness going on.
Yeah,
more so than competition.
It doesn't seem right. Like the segment where they were all fighting on SmackDown, and Becky goes, "Count me in, girls. A 5, 6, 7, 8," and they just start fighting. It's like, what is happening? What happened to just a couple years ago where, we're like, yeah, Charlotte and Sasha are in a blood feud and they're having a Hell in a Cell, and Alexa and Becky are having classic matches in their own right, and now it's like, here's a dance-off. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as far as the championship match goes, Tony, you kind of did it for me. But, and I mean this honestly, since WrestleMania, no one cares about Asuka. No one. Like, she lost the streak. She became irrelevant after losing the streak. She only has the title match right now because, well, look at the rest of the roster. And I think she needs to win this match here. And there's a good chance that either her or the Raw Women's Champion winner will get cashed in on the same night.
So, in my mind, there basically is 3 potential outcomes to this. And I'm curious if you guys think that there's anything else. Either Asuka just wins. Like, I mean, pinfall or submission, it doesn't matter. More so submission. And the win, for the most part, illustrates that Carmella was a transitional champion, which is fine. You need transitional champions every once in a while. But that would mean Carmella cashed in the briefcase, beat Charlotte, and then they transitioned it over to Asuka and kind of defeated the purpose of, like, well, why didn't Asuka just beat Charlotte? But okay, maybe you wanted Charlotte to be the one that ended the streak because you just really, really, really like Charlotte. But Asuka wins. That's outcome number 1. Number 2A is Asuka loses clean, and we can write off Asuka as being credible anymore because realistically, Carmella would never have been able to touch Asuka at the end of March. But now that she's lost her undefeated streak, now she can just lose to even Carmella. It's like, all right, well, then there goes Asuka. 2B is also the start of something on Hamlet. But Asuka loses through interference. And it's either the Iconics or it's Absolution.
But it doesn't matter. Like, that 2B scenario doesn't need to happen because
it doesn't.
What are you accomplishing?
That's my issue with that, is all you're saying in that regard, you're either going, Asuka wins, and it's like, all right, we're going to offset that loss. We still are invested in Asuka. Asuka loses to Carmella clean. all right, we're telling the audience, don't get invested in Asuka anymore. Asuka loses through interference. You're telling the audience, well, we don't really want to put the title on Asuka, but we don't want you guys to hate her.
Well, the only non-clean Asuka wins option I can see is Carmella walks away. Carmella just takes the count out loss, and they have a cage match or whatever match, or Lumberjill or whatever the fuck at Extreme Rules. That's the only way. What?
Do you guys buy into the rumors going around that James Ellsworth has been re-signed by WWE?
No.
Not at all. I'll be surprised if that happens.
And even if he has, like, really, again, we're going back here. What are we doing? Like, I want to see. You've hyped up the women's revolution for the last 6 months, and I really feel like SmackDown is quickly slipping back into that divas nothing matters stuff. And the only reason that Charlotte did beat Asuka, Tony, is because they want Charlotte to just have everything. But Asuka needs to win here. And then maybe we can just forgive the loss because she's Charlotte and move forward.
I'm hoping Asuka wins. Then, I don't know. Do you guys think that the Money in the Bank is going to come into play here?
Yes. I think the women's Money in the Bank gets cashed in on Sunday. Whether it's the Raw or SmackDown, I wouldn't be too sure. I'm leaning towards Raw, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got cashed in on Asuka just because.
Well, I definitely don't think on the SmackDown side it's being cashed in.
That's what I was going to say. On the SmackDown side, I don't think so. But the Raw side, that match, for those who, for some reason, don't know at this point and are still listening to a pay-per-view podcast like this, is Nia Jax defending the Raw Women's Championship against Ronda Rousey. I don't know what to make of this feud. Nia Jax spent a lot of time heading up to WrestleMania where she was being built up as a babyface, and she won the title from Alexa Bliss, and then they had their standard rematch because fuck it, who wants to work and put effort into anything other than just like, hey, rematch, that's fine, just redo. And then immediately afterward they throw it all away and they make her a heel again with Ronda Rousey. And I kind of think Ronda Rousey has to win this, because this is her first singles match. It's only her second match. And if she loses, then that sucks for her. But that sucks for Nia Jax because her title reign was essentially worthless. And now she's back to being a worthless heel and that kind of a thing.
Nia Jax has been in that spot before. And much like they do to, big superstars like the Big Show or a Kane, they'll bounce her up and down the card all they want.
And that just sucks. Like, I feel bad for Nia Jax with that.
I mean, yeah, but it's not Nia's fault. But I think the creative, if you can call them that, team is moronic for, hey, she's anti-bullying and body positivity. Oh, but here comes Ronda, so everybody get the fuck out of the way because Ronda needs this belt. And I have to talk about this because it made me laugh so hard. On Raw, they're going, can Ronda get the arm bar on Nia? First of all, have we had short-term memory loss and forgotten the fact that Asuka had Nia in an arm bar for about 5 minutes back in February?
Mm-hmm. Totally, just like, I hope that nobody remembers this.
And then to think, Ronda gets the armbar on her. Nia taps. So by the way, there goes your heat, because you've already seen Nia will tap out to Ronda Rousey quickly.
And Ronda can get the armbar on her.
But then, I don't know who the geniuses that called this. They rang a fucking bell.
Yeah. Somebody must have fallen asleep and woke up at the end of this segment going, oh, fuck, I forgot to ring the bell at the end of the match. And then it's like, it's not a match, dude. What's the fucking bell ringing?
But yeah, Nia's gonna lose. That's okay. It doesn't really matter. I'm very much over Nia Jax here. And Ronda's gonna win that belt, but I don't think it'll be for long.
Callum, do you think that there's a chance Nia Jax retains without a draw or something like that?
Yeah, I think Nia Jax will retain.
She just beats Ronda Rousey?
Not that straightforwardly. I'll talk about just a feud just for a little bit. This has been a total botch of a feud from the actual concept of it, because first of all, Ronda Rousey comes out your biggest babyface out of WrestleMania. You give her a couple of matches against more established stars. People get to see her in the ring, and then she will be right forward for the championship. Giving her a title opportunity in a second match turns a lot of people that had previously written her off and said, oh, she'll never make it WWE, who turned to her side after the WrestleMania match, turned them immediately back off, saying, oh, she's just getting a title opportunity immediately. So it's that sort of thing. The match itself won't be any good because Nia Jax isn't very good and Ronda Rousey is inexperienced. She could prove me a lot of people wrong. I mean, she did at WrestleMania, so I'm not going to say 100% will be bad, but there's a lot of factors going against it.
If they said that they had put her against Mickie James on live event stuff and that she wasn't ready to have a singles match against Mickie, they can't have a good match against Nia Jax.
No. And in terms of the actual result of the match itself, I think this match will be short. It kind of needs to be.
Oh, it has to be.
But I'm assuming it's going to... Well, again, this is probably like a bit of a stretch out there, but fuck finishes are always a WWE speciality. So what they do is they get Nia Jax... Ronda Rousey gets Nia Jax into an armbar situation, but her shoulders are on the mat when she gets the armbar on.
No, please, no.
And then Nia Jax taps out. The referee calls for Ronda to win. But then Constable Corbin comes out.
Fuck.
And on the orders of Stephanie McMahon, shows the replay of Ronda Rousey's shoulders being on the mat for 3 seconds while the referee was looking for the tap out. And so they decide, per Stephanie McMahon's orders, Ronda Rousey is not the women's champion. Nia Jax retains. And then you build to SummerSlam, Ronda Rousey against Stephanie McMahon once again.
I completely forgot.
I hate
about
how
Corbin.
believable this sounds.
You upended so much of what my idea was with that because I completely forgot about fucking Corbin. And yeah, you're right. They will try to figure out a way to force him onto the card, and the only logical way to do it is in this kind of a match. Unless it's something like, somebody gets attacked behind the stage and backstage, and they need to get replaced in the Money in the Bank match or something like that. But that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I think this wasn't my original idea because correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but I think what you were pressing towards is the idea of Natalya cashing in on Ronda Rousey.
Natalya or Charlotte?
Yeah, something along those lines. But I didn't want to go.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, but I didn't go with that because, again, another WWE trope. Natalya won the Fatal 4-Way match on Raw, so she's clearly not winning Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
so that was my
only
logic.
reason that I want to go with Natalya is because they're being so obnoxious with my friend Ronda and I are going to have the best night ever. And it's like, yeah, you're going to try to catch in that briefcase.
Was the idea, my original idea was that the cash, Natalya wins Money in the Bank in the open or whatever, and then she cashes in during the match and pins Nia Jax. So it becomes a triple threat, and she pins Nia Jax. And so you keep Ronda looking strong, and you can also keep the friendship going stronger because you could keep a Ronda Rousey Nia Jax feud going, and Natalya tries to keep her friendship going with Ronda Rousey to try and avoid having a match with her for the title, and then you could build a story along that. So that's a potential option as well. But I think the Constable Corbin thing, I think Corbin has to make an appearance at this show in some fashion.
Man.
And essentially because Stephanie hasn't been around that much and she's been using Corbin to fuck with Kurt and fuck with some other superstars and things like that, then this will be the perfect opportunity to start building towards the seemingly inevitable Ronda Rousey stepping man part 2.
Wow.
You really like
Yeah,
man,
you did.
that Corbin thing
it
took
probably
me
won't
by
happen.
surprise.
I'm just putting it out there as the idea.
But it's a really good one, and I think
Yeah.
I can see it now.
Oh,
And
no,
I
it's
haven't
not
I
a
haven't
good
seen
idea.
a single prediction of that anywhere when I've been looking around on like the internet and stuff like that. So if that
I'm saying
happens, fucking credit
I
to
thought
Callum.
my Sanity Daniel Bryan idea was like an out there idea that actually I have an out there idea for the men's Money in the Bank, but we'll get there. But yeah, I'm gonna stick to my guns and say Ronda Rousey wins here. I hope Callum's doing the post show with us so that if that thing happens,
Unfortunately,
can-
I won't be. That's what I've tried to fuck you over to. But don't get me wrong, I'll watch it on the replay, and then I'll be smiling throughout it, knowing that I got something right.
If that doesn't happen, I think that it's a very solid chance that we just get Ronda Rousey wins the title and gets cashed in on by Natalya, or that Natalya cashes in during the match and steals it away from her, or, and this is the cynical way to look at it, WWE puts the title on Ronda Rousey and we get Ronda Rousey doing a Brock Lesnar thing, where the Raw Women's Championship is also completely absent from
no.
most.
See, here's why I don't think that would happen. Ronda Rousey's pretty much been on every show since WrestleMania.
But not wrestling.
Not wrestling, but I would be fine with Lesnar not wrestling if he was there. I just want the championship there.
Yeah, I don't care if Ronda Rousey fights on Raw all the time. As long as she's fighting on every pay-per-view.
Based off of her promos, I don't want to see her do anything but fight. Her promos are terrible.
I thought her promo on Raw was a lot better than any other promo she's cut so far.
Even just her mannerisms, I just don't like. The whole, like, scowl that she does, and, like, you could tell she really buys into, like, I mean, because she legitimately is a badass, like, that's it, very much just like, well, I'm Ronda Rousey, and I'm a fucking badass, and I'm gonna beat you up, and it's like, alright, I get it. Can we, like, move on and not do this over and over again, kind of?
Because
like,
that's her whole shtick.
Well,
Yeah,
I think she's
bland.
adapting. She's adapting to the scripted nature of WWE. Let's put it this way: as much as she probably attempted to do so, she's not an actress.
No.
And you know what, Tony? Whether you like it or not, I got news for you. She don't give a damn about her damn reputation.
Well, we talked about this factoring in, but let's bounce around and go to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, because if there's certain other factors, then that might depend on the way we look at that. But the people involved, if you don't know, are Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Ember Moon, Lana, Naomi, Natalya, and Sasha Banks. Let's go one by one here. In my mind, the person who has the least likely chance is Naomi.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd go along with that.
All right, well, there goes the discussion on Naomi. Nobody, she's not going to
Sorry, Naomi. I mean, you're great, but you got your fallopian tube trophy.
Yeah.
You're good. Like,
beyond that point, I think that there's at least a certain level of
an argument that can be made.
Maybe for almost everybody, but I would have to say potentially my second to least likely is Becky Lynch.
No, I'd have her a lot higher up on my totem pole.
Well, there's a lot, like I can see an argument for anybody being the second least, that kind of a thing. As far as Becky Lynch goes, how do you guys see that? Like, do you think that that's going to be leading to Becky versus Asuka if she were to win, or Becky versus Carmella?
I just want to see Becky in a prominent
something.
role again. Yeah, like, I wouldn't care if Becky won the briefcase and, cashed in on Asuka and Becky turned heel. Like, I wouldn't care. I would love to see Becky doing something prominent.
I mean, I kind of have to split it out. It's weird because obviously we're going to talk about the women's and then the men's later on, but it's a hard synergy between these two, because logic would dictate that if a Raw superstar wins one of the Money in the Bank ladder matches, a SmackDown person will win the other one.
Right.
Because you're unlike... I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's unlikely that you're going to have both briefcases on the same show. Unless you are doing the thing like Rob suggested, like cashing one of them in the first night, because then you've only got one briefcase to worry about.
Exactly the point I was going to bring up. That's the one loophole that I think they can get away with.
Yeah, but I'm going on logic of, because the guy that I have win the men's one is a SmackDown guy. I think a Raw person will win it. So immediately for me, I've ruled out Naomi, Lana, Charlotte, and Becky. But I'd still put Becky over the likes of Sasha Banks and Ember Moon. Who I think are rank outsiders.
Ember Moon was the other option I was going to say is one of the potential bottom ones, because to me, even though Ember Moon has certain upsides, she's still kind of the rookie. And I sort of look at their positioning of putting her in there as like, well, we haven't done anything with Ember Moon yet. Why don't we give her a shot and just give her a little bit of a focal point? And that spot could have very easily gone to Bayley, could have very easily gone to Ruby Riott. But I think that they were just sort of like, they felt bad for Ember Moon. So I know that for at least a little bit of time, Ember Moon was one of the favorites to win on like booking, betting sites and stuff like that. And I just never saw it.
Well, Ember Moon was my initial pick because I thought, great, they use the Money in the Bank contract to elevate superstars, and Ember can be elevated with this. And I still think that that's a little bit of a possibility, but they've pushed other ideas so hard that now that's kind of in the back of my mind. So it wouldn't surprise me at all, but I have other ideas in the forefront of my mind.
If they go into this with the mentality of wanting an underdog to win, I think Ember Moon's got a chance. But I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Lana, I think, is another one that I think we can kind of rule out. I know that people are thinking that there's a potential Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank. I think that that's more of just like, hey, wouldn't that be kind of interesting? Let's promote that, but not actually do it.
Well, we know that one match will happen before the other, so there's a good chance that if Lana wins that women's briefcase, we may know who's walking away with the men's. Mm-hmm. But only because of them promoting that idea so strongly, I haven't ruled out Lana. Like, Lana would have been in my Naomi spot until they promoted that idea.
I haven't ruled out Lana just because Carmella won the briefcase last year. So it's not out of the question they give it to the worst wrestler out of the bunch. And it's the idea of, I'm hoping that Lana's not involved a lot in this match. She's very inexperienced. She's a hazard, I think, more than... I don't think she can add to this match. She can only really take away from it. So I'm hoping she gets, quote-unquote, taken out early. And she does that. You know that Miz spot where he ran in, went after getting injured and tried to climb the ladder really quickly? Oh, that's basically her only involvement, just to ensure her safety and everybody else's safety.
You think she takes like a Sasha Banks does the Eddie Guerrero sunset flip powerbomb, and they just kind of, take her out?
I guess it depends how many fatalities you want in the match, really. If you want to do something like that, I'm more along the lines of she just gets pushed off the ladder and tweaks her knee.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give her a major spot that requires like finesse to it. I think that they're going to kind of just be like, oh, somebody like maybe like the type of thing where like she's climbing and somebody grabs her head and hits like her head on the ladder and then she falls backward. Like maybe that kind of a thing. And it's just like, let's not pay attention to Lana for a while. But hey, maybe she's been working on something. Maybe she actually pulls out some kind of like weird Shelton Benjamin thing.
She's been in dance contests, Tony. The only reason Naomi's in this match is to do the Shelton Benjamin thing. And arguably
Maybe.
Sasha Banks.
I think
Sasha Banks is willing to kill herself. And I saw more of that on Raw, and I'm so scared for her. Like,
yeah, that's dangerous. And I also will put out there, I don't think Sasha Banks is going to win.
It would warm my heart so much if she would. But
I'd be happy with it just if they were to say some kind of Money in the Bank Sasha Banks pun. Like, then it'd be worth it. If she has a briefcase that says Sasha in the Banks, cool. give her the fucking briefcase. Like, out of everybody that's on this card for this Money in the Bank ladder match, she's the only one of them that I can see actually carrying the briefcase, but I don't think she's winning it.
Like, kind of like how when it was the Moolah trophy, we're like, yep, Sasha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see her win. Unfortunately, I think Bayley will either accidentally or accidentally on purpose cost Sasha Banks the briefcase because they won't let it go. I would love to see Sasha win here. So, like, sentimental for me, I'm going with Sasha, but my, rational brain says it's got to be one of the other two.
Technically, the other three, we haven't. There's three more left.
Which one didn't we touch on?
Alexa.
Bliss, Flair, and Natalya.
How could I forget Alexa Bliss? I'm sorry.
Alexa Bliss.
She's not winning.
She's not winning either.
Oh no, I think she's my favorite.
Really?
Just because they don't like leaving her out of things. Like, at this point in time, Ronda Rousey's a priority. Whoever would be challenging for the women's championships is top priorities. They don't like leaving Alexa out of the spotlight for long, and so by giving her the briefcase, they at least say, okay, look, people need to be looking over their shoulder. Alexa Bliss can still get plenty of promo time, still talk about how she's going to be the goddess again soon. She's like in waiting to be women's champion once again. It's more along the lines of, I understand the Natalya one. I think that I'm just going by my usual WWE logic of Natalya won on Raw, so she's not going to win this match, because they always do that. They always put somebody over who's not going to win the match.
Well, I'm going to take your reasoning for Alexa Bliss and say that's the exact reason why, even with that Natalya thing, my ultimate favorite is Charlotte, because they do not like leaving Charlotte without anything. I mean, we even saw that she beat Asuka just to be the one to beat Asuka. They don't like leaving Charlotte out of the mix. So even though Natalya's got a made storyline and a case could be made for all of the 8 women, I'm going with Charlotte Flair.
I'm gonna make a briefcase here for
Stop it, Tony.
Here's my philosophy with these three. Natty's my pick. And I think that's just because I tend to overthink a lot of things. Then I go, I should have just gone with the obvious. So I'm just going to, even though I don't feel as confident as I did before, I'm going to still stick with Natty because of the Ronda Rousey thing. However, I do think that there's a good chance that Alexa Bliss might win under one circumstance. If
Braun Strowman.
Yeah, well, that'd be great. If WWE is looking at this Money in the Bank similar to the way that they looked at the Carmella one. Remember if last year they had the men's and the women's, and it was the first time that they had ever done that, but it wasn't the first time that they ever had 2 Money in the Bank winners, because we used to have a Raw and a SmackDown. In years past, it seemed like their philosophy was one person cashes in relatively soon, another one waits a long time. And what happened with Baron Corbin, what happened with Carmella also was, well, if we've got 2 Money in the Bank winners, one of them can lose and one of them can win. We could also have a plan for one of them and not a plan for one of them. Now, Baron Corbin, whatever the plan was, it didn't work. And Carmella, I don't think that they necessarily had a plan, and I think that they were just kind of like, oh, that'd be kind of interesting and we'll figure it out. If WWE is looking at the women's Money in the Bank ladder match as that they don't want to do that Natalya thing right now, I think that there's a really good chance Alexa Bliss wins. And you got to remember, she can hold this until next July for the most part. Next June, next July, whatever they want to book Money in the Bank for. If Ronda Rousey is going to hold this title, she's going to hold it till WrestleMania. Like, it's just going to happen. She might drop it and win it back, but for the most part, Ronda Rousey's going to be the top big deal on the Raw women's side for the entire rest of the year. I can't see Alexa Bliss winning and then cashing in and beating Ronda, and I also kind of can't see Alexa Bliss cashing in and losing necessarily. So if she wins, she holds it past WrestleMania, and maybe she cashes in on Charlotte, who wins the Royal Rumble. I think Charlotte loses this Money in the Bank ladder match because she can lose and not look weak. And that Royal Rumble wins the compensation for it, because she didn't get to fight in the last Royal Rumble, you know?
Right.
So you got to give her a Royal Rumble win, and then this Royal Rumble, they made it a point to say, you have your pick of which champion you want. Charlotte can easily just be like, I want Ronda Rousey.
Well, and that's another thing I do want to say, that they've made it really clear that the Money in the Bank winners cannot jump. That they can.
They've
only
tried to do that,
challenge.
yeah.
They're trying to hammer it home, which to me makes it sound like that they have definitive plans for whomever may win.
Or they're just hoping that people will forget about it if they decide to change their minds.
No, that's true too. But I'm going Charlotte, because you never bet against the Queen. But
Callum, you're going Bliss?
Yeah, I'll stick with Bliss.
And even though I think that I'm not as sold on it as I used to be, I'm going to stick with Natty, because why not? And if like Naomi wins, we're all going to be like, what the fuck, really? You know?
Well, real quick, when Callum was talking about Bliss winning, I just had this idea of like Braun Strowman coming down and like helping her up the ladder because she can't reach the briefcase.
He just throws her up in the air.
Like he just lifts her up and she sits on his shoulders and catches the briefcase.
I'd be more entertained if like they do that and then they do that in the first match, and then in the men's match, Alexa comes out and tries to lift Braun on her shoulders.
Yeah, fuck it, why
I would
not?
love
It's more
that.
entertaining.
Well, either that or Buddy Murphy, and it could add an element to her character, you know.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I don't. It sounds good.
Let's talk about for the 14th fucking time, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. They're having a last man standing match because if there's one thing that this feud needed, it's a gimmick that is purposely dragged out and can potentially end on another draw, right? They had their match at WrestleMania. Styles won. That should have been the end of it. For some reason, Nakamura gets another match, and it's a draw. And then for some reason, he gets another match, and it's a draw. And then they have another match, and he wins. And now it's like, oh, look at that. Oh, now it's 1-1 and 2 draws and whatever. Let's figure out the rubber match between them.
The logic in this feud is pretty much non-existent. In
It's
the sense
so
that
dumb.
The
You
logic
don't-
has been that Shinsuke Nakamura likes to hit people in the dick.
Oh yeah, but going beyond that, the first draw they have, after obviously AJ wins and Shinsuke turns heel, the first draw they have at the Greatest Royal Rumble is a double count out. So you decide to do a no disqualification match where you can both still be counted out because they're everything stated about no counts. So then you do the match at Backlash, both men get counted down. So you decide to do a match where both men can get counted down.
They
And-
have to get counted.
Well, yeah, one of them has to get counted down, but ideally both of them get counted down. Surely you should do a match where instead of like first person to their feet or anything like that, it's like this is a match where you can't get counted down. You have to either like an I quit situation. You have to
Right.
force the person to quit the match because if you both are down, one of you has to get up and to get the other one to quit, or the other guy's knocked unconscious or whatever, or something along those lines. But no, it's a last man standing match. Even though if their previous match had been a last man standing match, it would have been a draw because they both just couldn't get to their feet.
Well,
Now, there's rumors going around that what WWE is going to do here, and I think that since the rumor went around, it's not going to happen, is that they're going to go for the double kick again, and AJ Styles is going to be wearing a cup.
boo, man, that's so stupid.
I wouldn't put it past them to do that, but I also wouldn't put it past WWE to do a situation where they fall off of something or something happens where they do the 10 count again, and it's like Paige comes out and goes, no, we need an actual winner. This match is going to continue. And then they do like 3 moves, and then that's the end of it. Like that kind of thing, just to piss people off. Also, here's another scenario. They could do double kick, fall off of something, whatever it is, where it's like a 10 count, both of them, it's another draw, and then the men's Money in the Bank ladder match winner cashes in.
That
I'm
would
okay.
imply that this match would end the show.
Not if Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal does. But more so not if Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey ends the show.
Yeah, right.
It could. There's a good chance that it could.
I don't
It definitely
want to think about that. I don't want to think about that.
If the Money in the Bank for the men is first on the night, then I think that that's going to be potentially the main event. Or the women's Money in the Bank ladder match could be too. But I'm okay with somebody cashing in and taking the title off of Styles. I'm okay with Styles retaining the title. I am not okay with Nakamura winning. And I'm not okay with a draw.
I don't think they're going to do the draw. I guess we'll have to wait and see for card positioning to see if somebody will cash in. But I definitely don't think they're going to do a draw. And I don't think that they want to drag this feud out anymore. I think AJ Styles wins. And hopefully this is the match that makes people go, that one was really good. But that cup idea that you talked about, Tony, that is Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn level stupid. Like, I hope that doesn't happen.
We're talking WWE here.
I'm sticking my guns. I hope that doesn't happen. And if it does, shame on them. AJ Styles has to retain here. He'll move on to, in my mind, Extreme Rules with Big Cass, and then SummerSlam with Samoa Joe.
I don't understand a lot of people's inclination that AJ Styles has to win this match, or Nakamura would be a mistake to be champion. Like, Nakamura is the entertaining part of this feud. AJ Styles is just a guy at this point. It's like similar with Carmella stuff. If I criticize Carmella for saying the same things in every promo and stuff like that, I'm going to throw the same criticism towards AJ Styles. AJ Styles is saying the same stuff in every single promo. He hasn't been entertaining to me since WrestleMania.
I agree.
He's been
I agree
incredibly
100%.
dull. And, I agree with you that I think that if I was to gun to my head, I think AJ Styles is going to retain this and move on to another feud. But I would be happier if Nakamura won the match. Because I think
it's not that I wouldn't want him to win. It's that if he wins, that means they're going to have another match.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily.
It would have to be,
I know
because who else is going to fight him?
Well, I go by the sense that they probably would do another match at Extreme Rules, but you could just get it over and done with an episode of SmackDown, and then just move on to Nakamura feuding with, I don't know, Jeff Hardy, or I'm trying to think, Rusev maybe, or something like that. Just turn Rusev babyface and have him feuding with that. But
that's where this all crumbles to me.
Yeah, there isn't a great deal of option. I do grant you with that, and that's why I am still going to go with AJ Styles. But I just think because of what Nakamura has done, and Nakamura essentially not sort of carrying this feud, but really coming to life since his heel turn, I think he would be a more entertaining WWE champion right now.
I agree.
My issues are multiple. The one thing, for instance, is if Nakamura wins, there aren't many options. You can't quite do the Daniel Bryan thing, because I'm still totally sold on the idea that they're going to do Daniel Bryan Big Cass at Extreme Rules again. And you can't do necessarily Rusev unless you actually want to turn him babyface, and they've been refusing to do that for months for some reason. And Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe is heel versus heel. They won't do that. Jeff Hardy's the United States champion. You'd have to take the United States title off of him, or do champion versus champion at Extreme Rules. And I just don't see that happening. And I really don't want Styles Nakamura again at Extreme Rules, especially because at this point, they'll have had 3 regular matches and a no DQ match and a last man standing match. What other gimmick can they do? Steel cage. It's like
I've been pitching an Iron Man match since Greatest Royal Rumble. I guess they just don't want to do it.
Yeah, so I just don't want to see that. And basically, for the most part, I would have been cool with Nakamura winning the title at WrestleMania, and I would have been cool with him winning it at Greatest Royal Rumble. At Backlash, I was like, nope, you're already past the point, and now you're way past the point. And I think it's a lot easier to just have AJ Styles retain and move on to Samoa Joe. And then you got Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles in a non-gimmick match at Extreme Rules, and Joe wins the title, and then you have a rematch at SummerSlam. Like, that's so much easier to me, and just because it's easy doesn't mean it's going to happen necessarily. But they could also do the cash-in, and that could be a way to transition to a new feud. And if they do the cash-in, then it has to be a SmackDown guy, which means it has to be either a member of the New Day, The Miz, Samoa Joe, or Rusev. However, Bobby Roode, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, and Kevin Owens are in the match, and we can't necessarily count them out either. But we'll get to the ladder match. Gun to your head, if you're picking Styles Nakamura, I'm hoping at the very least it's Styles, but I'm not sold yet.
Gun to my head, AJ Styles.
Yep, AJ Styles.
All right, so then the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, as I mentioned, those are the people involved. We don't know which member of the New Day is going to be. I don't think it really matters. Do you guys think that the New Day is going to...
Well, I think they'll be all involved. I think they'll all be trying to grab the briefcase. I've convinced myself at this point that that is what they're going to do. They're just going to all take turns trying to take the briefcase down until, like, Strowman powerbombs all 3 of them through a ladder.
Cool.
I'm going on the lines. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Well, that could definitely be a potential. I'm personally going with Kofi being the guy. They'll be in the match.
If it's the first match on the card, and this is the only way I can see a member of New Day winning, if it's early on the card and they want to do something where they really want to go with Big E, let's say, then maybe Big E wins this briefcase. If it's early in the card and they want to build a new guy like that, that is the only way I see a member of New Day winning. In my mind, it's going to be the main event, so they're kind of out, in my opinion.
I can't see any scenario where the New Day wins. And I love the New Day, but I just wouldn't make any sense to me. I would also, for the most part, rule out Kevin Owens. Even though I really love Kevin Owens, he's one of my favorites. I just don't think he has momentum on his side.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I'm judging this by the sense of, like, I think a SmackDown guy is going to win it, so I'm pretty much ruling out all of the Raw guys off the bat. But I put him... I think he's my second favourite Raw guy to win it.
Yeah, me too.
But if I'm ruling out all Raw guys, then it just doesn't matter anyway. But
well, Owens, for me, fits the scenario that I'm going to pitch, but I don't think he's the guy to do it. However, they've shown a lot of love to him in the past, so you never count him out. But I wouldn't rule him out before I ruled out, let's say, a Rusev, but I'm going to rule out Kevin Owens as well.
For the most part, I put Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Rusev, and Bobby Roode all on the same plateau. I don't think any of them have much of a chance, although if I had to pick between those 4, I would lean more towards Bobby Roode, because I would think that maybe they would do that for a heel turn, but I don't have any faith in that at all.
I'm so hoping Bobby Roode does not win this briefcase.
No, you're not going to like my answer.
Yeah, I know. I'm preparing for that situation anyway, but it's a sense of, I hate people using the briefcase to revive a dying career. It should be for the guy that people in their minds thinking, oh, this guy could be the world champion, or this guy or this girl could be world champion. They just need that next step, or they just need that opportunity. Not a case of, oh, well, this guy's really struggling. Let's give him the briefcase. Maybe that will fix it. It's like, well, what if he doesn't fix it? Then you just wasted the briefcase.
But unfortunately, we're looking at 8 careers that are stagnant.
I don't think. No, I wouldn't say all 8 of the.
Well,
careers
yeah,
are stagnant.
you have the one in Braun Strowman, but even
No, Miz and
he's
I'd put Miz and Joe also on like careers are on the upward trajectory.
see the only reason I would rule out Joe is because he doesn't need it. There are people who need it, and Joe is not one of them. Joe can get by on his ability and his in-ring work and his ability to be a monster, and that's why I don't see Joe winning it. Not that he doesn't deserve it, that he's on that level. He absolutely is, but I don't think that he needs it, so I don't see them going for it.
Well, that's
Well-
my philosophy behind Strowman. Like,
Well,
can you really see Strowman walking around with the Money in the Bank briefcase? And does he need that to be able to challenge anybody? Like, he's Braun Strowman. He beats up multiple people at the same time.
well,
My-
I'll
Go ahead, Neil.
change my argument slightly. In the sense of like, I'm not strictly saying that Joe definitely will win. I'm still like, I'm in an know for my decisions, but maybe Joe doesn't need the briefcase, but maybe the briefcase needs Joe.
Yep.
I'll give you that.
Because the briefcase, like last year, I think suffered greatly in terms of its importance, credibility. The Corbin stuff was just a complete and utter farce. Like, it was a guy that totally wasn't ready for that sort of spotlight, lost it almost immediately in such bizarre and stupid fashion, in a way that people, I mean, I remember it because, like,
You're an actual
there's a lot of
fan.
people, yeah, well, not actual fan, but like, people, like, it's only a year ago and it's still fresh in my mind. It's like, oh my god, that was such a stupid thing they did. But like, nobody's really going to remember it in like 3-4 years' time. So it's just a complete waste of a briefcase. And the Carmella thing, I mean, Carmella was good. It's again a good character and like a good talker, but like as champion, she's not any more credible, and I don't really like her being on top of the division. Since they need somebody who, when they win and when they cash it in, people are just going to immediately get behind and really understand that this guy should be world champion. And I can see that in someone like a Joe or a Strowman or something like that. If you put it on someone like a Bobby Roode or one of the New Day, just like, okay, it's just you're just putting on a guy that you think could have a transitional title reign.
That's where I think that there's the two different varieties of Money in the Bank. You can either have, like, actually there's 3. You either have a surprise, like, wow, I never would have expected that person would have won, and maybe
Sandow.
we can follow their career and see where WWE is going to go from here, like a Sandow. Or Jack Swagger, for instance, was even kind of a surprise. Or you can have we need to do something with this person and revive them, so let's give it to like a Bobby Roode and have him turn heel, although I don't think that that's going to happen. Or you go with, let's just put it on a legitimate guy. And Samoa Joe is my number 2. I think Braun Strowman doesn't need it whatsoever, and I also kind of can't picture Braun Strowman using it at any point. Excuse me. Like, first off, who's he going to fight? It's going to be Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns? We've seen that so many fucking times. Do we really need to give Braun Strowman the Money in the Bank and waste the Money in the Bank for that, when we can just do that match anyway if they really want to fucking do it, you know? And I can't imagine Finn Balor gets in that kind of a spot. I think that he's here to be like a worker monkey. I know a lot of people like Rusev. Rusev doesn't strike me as somebody that's actually going to get that push. So if he wins, I think he's going to lose the cash in. And I never want to go into a Money in the Bank picking somebody that's going to lose. That always bugs me. So for the most part, since I'm doing the Raw and SmackDown split too, if I think that Natalya is going to win, I think that Samoa Joe or Miz has to win for SmackDown. Given the options, I mentioned before, I think Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles can just happen without the Money in the Bank. So I really am hoping WWE goes with the obvious, predictable, potentially type of thing of The Miz. He's a weasel of a heel, so the gimmick works so much better with him. He can cash in on Daniel Bryan. It just becomes great storytelling to do that. He can even cash in on AJ Styles if you want to do that, and then you can have an AJ Styles and The Miz feud. But the Bryan thing is the way to go. and I can't see the 7 other options being better than that in any regard. So I'm hoping it's The Miz. I don't feel confident in that.
I will agree with you 100% that there is no option that is better than The Miz. Like I said with Sasha being my sentimental favorite for the women, The Miz is my sentimental favorite here. Like, I want to see The Miz as champion, and especially that title feud with Bryan, so bad. But traditionally, the Money in the Bank is used as WWE's get out of jail free, unless they just put it on a Sandow or Corbin and just decide that, hey, we don't need to use a get out of jail free card and we've changed our mind on this guy. So to me, that says it has to go to a Raw guy. Because Raw is in such dire need of a champion or something of championship importance that it has to go to one of them. So that leaves 3 viable options in my mind, and that's Finn Balor, Braun Strowman, Bobby Roode. Balor getting the briefcase would be awesome because it would be like, oh my god, are they actually going to do something with Finn Balor? Because he's been just so poorly used, and it's not even funny. We all crapped on him last week for the call the spot thing, so I won't do it here. But if he was to win the briefcase, I'd like to see him cash in spontaneously on Raw, where let's say Brock shows up, Roman Reigns beats him down, spears him. Even maybe, let's add to that, even Strowman after Roman comes up and hits the power slam, and then Balor comes in, hits the coup de grace, cashes in, and it's like, oh my god, what a Raw moment. The show's been so boring for so long, at least it seems like, hey, you should have really tuned into this one. That would be a good use for Finn Balor. Now, Braun Strowman is just going, okay, so Roman and Lesnar are going to have a match at SummerSlam, and Strowman will cash in on the winner. And then there's my pick, which is Bobby Roode, and I have such a convoluted thing here where I just don't think the WWE will let the Authority die. And when the Authority is a thing, as it seems to be forming again on Raw with Stephanie, and now you have Constable Corbin, you need an Authority champion. Bobby Roode, as a heel, fits that bill so perfectly. He did it well in NXT with the suits and all that. He did it well in TNA. I think Seth Rollins beats Brock Lesnar. And I think with the help of Constable Corbin, Bobby Roode cashes in, and we have another Authority-like stable for Roman Reigns to come and finish off at the next WrestleMania. That's my pick. I'm going Bobby Roode.
Callum, where are you leaning?
I agree with you, Tony, that the idea that makes the most logical sense is that The Miz wins and that you head in the direction towards the Daniel Bryan feud. However, that is not what my choice is. I am going with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe wins, is immediately interviewed, and says that he's going to be cashing in at SummerSlam. He announces in advance that he is going to be cashing in at SummerSlam. So he's giving the champion plenty of warning, plenty of opportunity, because that's the type of guy Samoa Joe is. He doesn't want to sneak up behind. He just wants to get his opportunity and beat you for it. I know that kind of removes a lot of the gimmick of Money in the Bank, but I kind of miss the old days where a Rob Van Dam would say, I'm going to be cashing in on this night, or a John Cena would say, I'm cashing in on this night. It just shows that the guy holding the briefcase doesn't want any up. I know he's a heel, but he's not a Weasley stab you from behind type of heel. He's a heel that will look you straight in the eye and say, I'm just going to beat the shit out of you and take your title. And I think that's something that we haven't seen from a Money in the Bank holder for a while.
I agree with you there. I'd love to see more of that as well. Like, I've always liked the Rob Van Dam idea, even if it didn't lead to much of anything. I liked that it was like, hey, I'm going to do this, and we can build up to this. And I wish more people would do that. So both of your ideas I really like more than my own, especially that Miz one. If Miz wins, I'm going to be so happy on the post show. But I just can't see WWE giving up on stupid things like the Authority, and that's why I'm going with what I'm going with.
And I'm just going to stick with the Miz because I could change my mind a million times, and I figured, fuck it, I'll just stick with Miz and Natty because why not? But that is our breakdown for Money in the Bank 2018. As always, everybody, make sure you tell us what you think about our predictions and to give your own predictions in the comments section below, whether you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. Stay tuned, per usual, for the TakeOver Chicago post-show and the Money in the Bank post-show coming Saturday and Sunday night, respectively. That's where we're going to break down exactly what our thoughts of the things that actually did happen instead of just what we think is going to happen. Hopefully for the better, potentially for the worse, maybe a mix between them. We'll see. Also stay tuned. Friday is going to be when the Sexiest Superstars Tournament preliminary round is going to be posted on Smark Out Moment. And we will be covering like a podcast version of that next week, along with our mailbag for June. So over these next couple of days, think of those mailbag questions and send them in pretty much like whenever you get a chance to. That way, that'll be a lot more useful for us to take care of next week when we do that next, like, Thursday or something like that. Maybe Wednesday, I don't know. Other than that, just be aware of anything that's happening on smarkoutmoment.com. You could also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at smarkoutmoment. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel here and ring the bell for notifications for when we do post our videos for those next things that are going to be coming out, and the hot tags too, because that's, of course, another thing. We're going to talk about, like, Undercover Boss and whatever. And fanboysanonymous.com is another thing for you guys to check out, because that's potentially going to have some other stuff coming out if I can get a chance to do more stuff for that. Plug aside for these guys that we got going on, Robert.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. Check out WrestleZone.com because it's what I do during the day. Check out TimekillerApparel.com. I should be revamping all of that very soon. And yeah, that's about it for me. Callum?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at WeekMeister14. If you thought I had any more than that, well, joke's on you.
Ah, he got me. Damn it.
Look at that. It's WWE booking. Stay tuned for nothing. Also, if you want to show your support for Smark Out Moment, two different ways that you can do it are the Patreon account, if you want to donate to help us keep the lights on and everything like that. You can also do the same thing for Fanboys Anonymous too, if you have the spare change for that. And you can buy some t-shirts too. I just uploaded a couple just pretty basic things, some other eat, sleep, repeat type ideas. One of them's eat, sleep, walk with Elias, repeat. One of them is eat, sleep, get these hands, repeat. And the other one is eat, sleep, push Roman, repeat. Also put up a Mayor Kane thing of just he's got a shot, just a political one, because fuck it, why not? And since I was working on crap, I also just figured I'd make fun of the IHOB thing. So if you want to buy an IHOB Burger King logo or the IHOP logo that says poop, because I'm a fucking child and it made me giggle when I did it, so I figured why not. Go ahead and do that. Buy any of those shirts or whatever merch that you would like as soon as you can, because they always get taken down and stuff. And I already mentioned the Patreon, so yeah, do that too. Any support that you guys give for us, whether it's a like or a share or a comment, is always greatly, greatly appreciated. Thanks for listening to me bitch and complain for 3 hours. Hopefully I'm not going to bitch and complain this weekend. But we will see you when we see you this weekend, everybody. Thanks for listening, as I've been mentioning over and over again. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we are being counted out.